All right, everybody. The MMA Junkie Radio pre-show is on. This is Eric Nicksick over here to my right. Dan Tom over to my left. Danny in New York.
Hi.
And we were just chatting about Eric being in Pittsburgh. Take it from there, Eric.
Yeah. It was in Pittsburgh.
You were in Pittsburgh.
Cool city.
He's in Pittsburgh.
Cool city. Actually, really, really good card, man. I was pretty stoked about that card.
A
lot of finishes.
Yeah.
The card.
First round, too.
First rounds, yeah.
Or early. Or early in the second, maybe.
Early in the second, yeah. Yeah, holy hell. That was a fun one.
Yeah, it was a roller coaster ride, as much as you can fit into an MMA round.
Right, for sure.
And then some.
For sure.
Let's see here. Obviously, no George today.
Yeah, still
pretty hobbled.
Yeah.
Hey, check out my Facebook memory. I used to change my name every day at Starbucks. And one day, it was bugging me. I was waiting for the day where they would tell me, like, enough, And it's like, all right, this will do it. I'll make them put the print symbol. And they fucking did it.
Oh, my God.
That's when I knew, like, they won. They beat me.
Yeah,
oh, my God.
There's nothing else I can do.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
2 minutes. You enjoying football so far?
Yeah, it's been good. We had, except for the Florida State's first game.
Yeah.
And our quarterback had the same injury George has.
Oh, really?
The patellar tendon.
Patellar tendon?
Yeah. Blew his knee out. It's like 5 minutes left in the game. The game's over. Just sit the guy down, and he ends up blowing his knee out. Now our starting quarterback's out for the year. So you get.
I heard your backup's not that bad, though.
He's a true freshman. But, I mean, Jimbo does such a great job with his quarterback. So, but, I mean, we were slated to make the playoffs this year and everything else. Even if we lost to Bama, it didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I think we're screwed. So, I'll get you guys on here real quick.
Yeah.
Check us out today, co-hosting the show with the boys on my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. See you guys.
Danny, he stole your patent. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Coming up in a minute.
Yeah. See that print that Chase brought over?
That's sick.
It's a pretty cool thing, huh?
Yeah, that is sick.
You should have one of those made for your birthday. Put that up in your
My
office.
cousin's actually a pretty good, pretty kick-ass artist, man.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he does all the Hall of Fame, Nevada State Hall of Fame. When they get
cool.
inducted, he paints them all pictures and stuff.
Coming up, Danny?
In 30.
Oh, yeah. Hey, nothing else changes, though, right? For today's show?
Nothing else changes.
All right. So basically, we just have 2 more minutes of show every day.
Yes.
How do you like that?
How do you feel about that?
I'm okay with it.
All right, coming up, say bye.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMA Junkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is going to be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Gold. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMA Junkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communications stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMA Junkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMA Junkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMA Junkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Go.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the happy birthday place. You guys are probably wondering why that music's playing. A couple birthdays to celebrate. This theme song today.
I love it.
He can get away with whatever he wants today.
I thought
Pretty
it would
much.
be like Stevie Wonder. No, not for Danny.
This is what we always play on our show.
I love it.
Today is Eric Nicksick's birthday. Nicksick's birthday.
So, yeah.
Eric's birthday. Let's go with Eric. This is Eric Nicksick, General Manager, Extreme Couture, Head Coach. Dan Tom on the left, also an Extreme Couture member. Let's not forget about that. Newest addition to our roster here. Today is Eric's birthday. Tomorrow's my birthday. George's birthday's on Tuesday. And there's somebody else. Oh, Marissa Rivas is also our General Manager over at Sirius. Her birthday is the same day as George's.
Must be my birthday.
So we are going to be very, very... Was that pervert from Family Guy that you
think
consider
so.
now?
Did you hit the drop?
So, yeah, we're going to be extra obnoxious on today's show.
We're going to try to burn this city down.
We can get away with whatever we want at this point with all these birthdays going on. On today's show, we will have Joe Lauzon. He's actually going to be joining us here any second now. And we will have John Jones on the program. Not the John Jones you're thinking of. The John Jones on Twitter. He's at John Jones. He's going to talk to us about what these last couple months have been like for him. If you follow him, if you don't, you should follow him because he's actually very, very funny. And he takes everything in stride. All the John Jones jokes he'll respond to and kind of just give his own little twist to them that are pretty hilarious. I'll read one here. This is the first one I'll pull up. I'll read this one to you guys. Looks like John Jones' career is done. #cheater. He responds, up. Or no, he says, come on, like you've never cheated at Contra. The game is impossible. Up, down, left, right, BA, start. So he likes to have fun with it as well. Very good sense of humor. And then Jason Buckham, our former intern, he will be on the show to break down Tough 26 and just kind of let us know where we stand because we took our vacation and I think the week before we had to leave on the day of the show. So I think they're 4 weeks in and we haven't really been able to get to it. But now that we're back, we'll make sure that Jason comes on once a week to be able to break that down. But for now, why don't we move on to our first guest? We're going to get a guest in early on today's show. We have Joe Lauzon, UFC lightweight. There you go, Dan. Switch that over. He fights Clay Guida at UFC Fight Night 120. Let's bring him on. Joe Lauzon, what's up?
How's it going today?
Dude, we're all in good moods because George is not because George isn't here, but just to let you know, George is not here. Goes is running the show. I got Dan Tom with me and Eric Nicksick, General Manager over at Extreme Couture. His birthday is today, mine is tomorrow, and George is coming up next week, so we're all in good moods. How about you?
Happy birthday to all you guys.
Thank you very much.
I'm doing good.
Everything's going good so far, and you've been pretty upbeat in in the messages that you and I have exchanged. Clay Guida, I mean, it's a tough fighter. I feel like no matter who we talk about that you're facing, it's always a tough matchup. You've never really had that guy where we've all said, oh, yeah, no problem. I mean, it just seems like you're a magnet to all these tough fights. With Clay Guida, is this a guy that you just felt like eventually you guys would just lock horns? There's no way around it?
Yeah, I kind of thought we might have fought a little sooner than this. So it's taken us a long time. It's just it never lined up just right, and it finally did, So I'm excited for that. I think whenever there's guys that have been around for a long time, like I have been, like you kind of want to see how all those guys match up against each other, So I think it's time. I think it's a great fight.
Do you feel like there's anything in his game that you haven't seen throughout your career?
Not really. I mean, I think I know what I'm getting into. I think that he's got good wrestling, pretty good jiu-jitsu, staying out of stuff. Okay striking with a lot of movement, but with a crazy amount of cardio. So I think that we know what we're getting into. We just got to be ready to go. He's one of those guys where you can put it on him and think you have him on the ropes, and he's just breaking his first sweat, and he's there. So. I think we know what we're getting into, but it's a lot tougher to get ready for than sometimes.
With a guy like Clay, would you say the emphasis is extremely on that cardio point? Because that's the one thing that we always know he always has is that cardio. And I imagine, Joe, you got the jiu-jitsu down. You got a lot of things down. Is that kind of what you put the emphasis on is cardio for this camp?
Yeah, we're doing a lot of cardio. We're doing a lot of cardio. We have to be ready. I picked up all the grappling and wrestling and all that kind of stuff too. Because it's like, you can get used to running, but running gets you in shape to run. You know what I mean? I think we're going to have a lot of grappling and jiu-jitsu and punching, and so we're trying to do that specifically. Like a lot of cardio with all that stuff. Just have to be in shape. I think if I'm in shape and I can hang with him and keep cardio with him, then I think I win the fight. But easier said than done, as I said. He just doesn't stop moving. He's a guy after 3 rounds. He's doing push-ups and jumping around and looks completely fresh, like he's getting ready to walk out for his fight. He's already done 3 5s or 5 5s or whatever he's done. So it's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge, and it's a big issue we have to focus on.
One of the funner things about watching you fight live is being able to look up in the stands and see just that big crew of Lauzon fans, Lauzon family members, training partners. It's a really big group. They always walk around with the same shirt. Throughout your career now, in the later stages here, do you feel like there's more people that show up to these fights, or is it less and less because they've had to travel out before?
It depends on the fight. Like every fight's different. There's been some fights where I didn't expect many people to go, and then a ton went. And there's been other fights where I expected more people to go, and then not as many went. It's just it all comes in cycles. It's the first couple fights in the UFC where they were like real big deals. Joe's fighting in the UFC. It was a really, really big deal. Now we've done it like 25 times. It's not such a big deal. It's not such just like a momentous occasion for everyone. I think it kind of works out that if it works out with someone's time off, or they're looking, it's a place they always wanted to go, or whatever, then then they're gonna come. I don't know if Virginia Beach in November is the top of anyone's list of places to go, but we'll have a good amount of people with me regardless.
UFC lightweight Joe Lauzon joins us on MMAjunkie Radio. I'm going to turn it over to Dan. Tom, he's got a couple questions for you. What do you have, Dan?
Hey, Joe, you mentioned earlier about, the fans wanting to see, a certain generation of guys and how they shake out against each other. And I couldn't agree more. But speaking of that generation, if the UFC were like a yearbook, we have a bunch of editions of freshmen, sophomore, junior, and senior classes. Now we're seeing guys maybe a couple classes before you and Diego Sanchez, or not Diego Sanchez, but like a couple classes before you, start to retire of that, tough one generation. Obviously, you came in the later tough. And then we're seeing guys maybe a couple toughs after you, like Matt Brown, for example, who's on that card, just announced his retirement. When you hear these things of guys that maybe, are within your same yearbook, if we're using that metaphor, I don't want to ask you if it lights a fire under your butt, because, Joe, you give it every time. You put it on the line every time. But does it maybe change your perspective when you start to go out there?
Not for me so much. Everyone's different. There are kids that I went to high school with that were much better athletes than me, 15 years ago. But, it's different now. Like I'm probably a better athlete than they are now, And these are, kids that were, phenomenal, like top 1% athletes that were just absolute animals. But now time's gone by because, it's what's, come at them in life and what's come at me in life and where my priorities have been versus theirs. It's very, very different, And I think that, a guy like Matt Brown, a guy like Diego, a guy like me, a guy like anyone really, try to compare any two fighters, have been vastly different experiences and different wear and tear. Jim Miller's a guy that, I fought a couple times and I freaking love Jim, He's dealt with like Lyme disease stuff. I'm sure that's impacted him differently than it's impacted me as far as training goes and things like that. So, I think that everyone's a little bit different. I'm aware, I'm fully aware of the fact that all these different guys are now to retirement. They're kind of, deciding to hang it up and be done. And I'm very aware that my time is coming at some point. But I'm not thinking, oh yeah, what? Matt Brown's retiring. I should retire this fight too. Like I'm not there yet.
100%. And speaking of this fight, keeping it relevant, it's a fight that we all can legitimately get excited about, especially if you know the game and how you guys match up. I mean, through every phase of the fight, Guida's a guy that arguably needs a dance partner to put on his exciting fights, and obviously you guys match up really well. So in that regard, to be honest, this fight has bonus written all over it, is what I'm getting at. Do you still have those goals, Joe? I know that the bonuses and you are kind of synonymous with one another, but is that still a goal of yours when you go in there? Like, what? I think we can get this bonus tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nate Diaz is my boy, but I'm selfish. I want to be standing at the top alone. Right now Nate and I have been tied for a while, having the most bonuses. I want to be the clear-cut winner. I want to be clear-cut number one. So, yeah, I'm always trying to get those bonuses. But, every fight I go out there and I just try to train hard. Like, I never really set out to try and get bonuses as much as just my style just lends itself to bonuses. So, I don't get too caught up in it. A lot of times I don't even think about the bonus until they start talking about it after we won or something. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that was a good submission. I guess that was pretty good. Like, I'm not thinking about it too much most of the time.
Joe, being one of the bonus kings, I know to get that bonus, not all of them, because you can get one from a submission and back in the day from a knockout and all that, but sometimes it meant you had to kind of go through a war in the cage. If your career could have gone longer and you could have avoided some of those, would you have preferred that, or were the bonuses worth it?
I try not to ever try and change things that I've done. Or try to think like, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done that. Like, I think when the time comes, you make the best decision you can. With every action, whether it's split-second decision in a fight versus a business decision versus a contract decision versus whatever. Like personal stuff. I try not to go back and second guess it. Like I'm very happy with how things have gone, and I don't think I would change anything.
Let me turn it over to Eric Nicksick. He's the general manager at Extreme Couture and head coach. What do you got, Eric?
Hey, Joe. So you being in this sport for such a long time now and seeing the evolution of this sport, can you kind of tap us into some of the things that maybe you've changed and adapted in your training styles over the years? Is it maybe less sparring, more drilling, things of that sort to keep you in the sport and relevant and kicking ass like you're doing and staying at a high level?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, obviously like anything else, we evolve, we get better, we get smarter about what we're doing. One of the things that I do personally is I spar a lot less than I used to.
Yep.
I used to spar like, 8, 9, 10 weeks, a couple times a week. And, and that there's twofold reasons for that. Two reasons for that. One is, I personally don't need the sparring as much. I've done a lot more. My timing, gets dialed in right away. As I first started fighting, my sparring, I wasn't dialed in all that timing. I wasn't, perfectly ready for a fight, in 3-4 weeks. Whereas now, I get dialed in like much sooner.
Yep.
I think that, so I've always worn headgear, and there's like this big debate about, wear headgear versus not headgear. I love headgear because it stops headbutts, it stops accidental clashes of head, it stops, cuts, it stops all that kind of stuff. I'm not wearing the headgear because I think it's gonna, I'm just gonna sit there and I'm gonna get punched in the head, and I don't care, I'm good because I have headgear, But I do think that, I think that makes a big difference. In the beginning we didn't always wear headgear, so like I always wear headgear now. There's a lot of things that we've done to try to, be a little bit smarter about what we're doing, but at the end of the day, it's not a ton different. We do more strength conditioning stuff, less wear and tear on the body that way, and more pure like goals in mind. Like you're trying to test your heart rate. You don't have to go and grapple, super hard to the, balls to the wall, and then maybe hurt your knee, or hurt your ankle, or hurt your hand, or whatever. So we've definitely gotten smarter with all that stuff. Kind of as it's gone along.
Yeah, I'd say the same for us too over Extreme Couture, man. I mean, back in the heyday, I think it just turned into more of a banging it out every practice. But yeah, now we're 7-ounce sparring glove days and taking it a little bit easier on each other, and trying to keep these guys in the sport for longer. That's where they can actually make their money.
Yep, I've always been a big fan of like doing drilling, and so like I grapple 6 days a week, regardless if I have a fight or not. I'm on the mats grappling, and I'm not saying I'm grappling super hard, but I'm working on stuff 6 days a week. I'm always working on stuff. So that I kind of feel like I was ahead a little bit. I think a lot of people like they would go and they do like live rolls, but they wouldn't actually drill. They wouldn't work on stuff. They wouldn't seek out people with new ways of doing things. I've always been that. So I think that's helped me a little bit. But yeah, I think it's just you got to be smarter about your training. You can't just go in and show up and spar, balls to the wall, and just kill each other. It doesn't
Absolutely.
work.
Joe, on that same topic of training, out here in Las Vegas, we have this new Performance Institute. The fighters seem to love it. Have you had a chance to tour it? And what would you think of if there were one on the East Coast? Is that something, let's just say, was relatively close to you? Do you think you would utilize it?
Yeah, I have toured it. The place is amazing. The place is incredible. They do so much stuff there. I would love to have one closer. It's just, for me, it's like it's so far to fly to Las Vegas. You're talking 6-7 hours. It's not very practical. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to up and do an entire training camp there. I have my gym here. I got all my training partners here. I got my coaches here. Like, it's not practical for me to just up and move all the way out to Las Vegas and do a camp there. But I would love to take advantage of it more, like when I come in for trips for whatever. Whether it's cornering other guys or whatever. It's awesome. It would be great to have. It'd be great to have it in Boston. It'd be a great East Coast location.
There you go. You know, yesterday we were interviewing Adam Piccolotti, and he said some great things about you. On that same topic, like, share something about Adam. I mean, he said so many good things about you. We got to hear you say something good about him.
Adam is awesome. You know, he gave me a really, really hard time. You know, like he got off the plane on a Tuesday night and came right to the gym. I'm like, dude, like, stretch out, take your time. You know what I mean? Like, it was good. And then he whooped my butt. Like, he grappled me. Like, what the hell? You know, and I'm a jerk in the training room. Like, I'm doing everything you can to, like, I'm constantly hitting with, like, little knees to the body and, you know, digging my elbow into your face and stuff like that. That was a little bit nice to him that first night. But Adam is so freaking good. Like, he's so talented. He's got great striking, great wrestling, great jiu-jitsu. He works hard. He does everything he's supposed to do. You know, and I think it shows. You know, he's like 9-0. You know, he's been crushing it. He's doing really, really well. And I'm really excited for his fight. You know, I generally don't watch Bellator too much unless I have a friend fight. You know, but I'm definitely gonna be tuned in. I'm excited for his fight.
Joe, we have some fighters getting ready to get in the cage in Japan. You fought in Japan before. What one piece of advice would you give those fighters?
Don't do it. I don't know. For me, it sucks because, like, you know, I don't know if you realize, just with the time difference, in Japan, I think we fought at like 6 a.m. local time. So it's like 6 a.m. Sunday morning, I think, was when I'm probably off by a little bit, but it's like really, really early like that. So I think we got up at like 3 a.m. or something, and then, you know, we had to drive like an hour and a half to the arena.
Awful.
And to be there, and it was absolutely miserable, you know. And I remember being in the back room, and, you know, like, I'm like slapping myself in the face and trying to wake myself up because I'm just like yawning and I'm tired. And my coach is like, I'm already wrapped up, but my coach is like, you know what? Let's just put you in the shower. We'll take the wraps off. We'll re-wrap. We'll do everything, because I was like on the verge of like falling asleep the entire time. I'm like, no, I'll be good. And then I get kicked in the face, and I really got put to sleep. So, you know, it's just tough. Like, it's really, really tough getting used to all the time. You know, it was a great trip as far as, like, Japan was awesome. Like, it was really cool just to see everything. Like, you know, being in Tokyo and everything else was really, really cool. But I did not have. I would not want to fight in Japan again. I did it once. I can say I did it. It's gonna be very difficult to get me to go there again.
Is that pretty much go across the board for any other show that has that sort of limitation?
As far as what? What do you mean?
You know, like New Zealand, Australia, that sort of stuff.
Oh no, I mean, I think that'd be okay. You know, based on I don't know, like, what the time difference is. You know, isn't Australia like almost a full day ahead or something? Or 12?
Yeah, I think they're like one day ahead. Right?
When I was out there with Brad, I think we fought like at noon.
Noon?
Yeah, but it would have been.
Yeah, so that's fine. Yeah. So that's fine. So like if we do like earlier sparring in the day, we'll spar at like 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. something like that. So that would be fine. Like, I would have no problem fighting then, but, like, you know, getting up at 3 to fight at 6 a.m. was really, really tough.
That sounds awful.
Joe, how often can you throw the I'm Joe Lauzon, I'm a veteran card? You know, when the matchmakers go, hey, we got this guy, we got that guy. Have you ever just gone, come on, man, I'm Joe Lauzon, I can't be doing that?
I don't throw it at them, but they throw it back to me sometimes. Like, hey, you're Joe Lauzon, you can do what you want. Like, you can, you know, I'm like, oh, I don't want to be a pain, but, like, oh, whatever you want, you know, like, so, like, I try not to ever toss that around, but I mean, but it's great hearing, you know, that they have that kind of respect and stuff like that. It's like, you know, Sean Shelby's my boss. Yeah, he's like, hey, you know, whatever you think, or is this okay with you, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's definitely nice. I know I definitely have a little bit more pull than a lot of guys do.
I try and give you that as much as I can via text message. Come on, man, you're Joe Lauzon. You gotta apologize for that.
Yeah, a little. Yeah. You're always good.
All right, Joe, we don't want to take up too much of your time, man, but thank you very much for joining us on MMAjunkie Radio. Before we let you go, would you like to thank any of your sponsors, anybody that helped get you here?
No, I mean, check out my gym, Lauzon Mixed Martial Arts. We're in Easton, Massachusetts. Check out all my social media, joelauzon.com. We're doing the Jimmy Fun Walk on Sunday. 2 more days. So if you want to... So my son was... For people don't know, my son was born with cancer. He's great now. He's doing awesome. But he was treated at Dana-Farber and the Jimmy Fund in Boston, at Boston Children's Hospital. So if you go to donate.joelauzon.com, there's our team page, and we're doing the walk. It's like a 5K walk so that, like, everyone can do it. Like, my mom and everyone else can just all do it. So we'll probably have like 40 people or so will walk with us on Sunday. And the first year we raised a ton of money. You know, I think the first year I think between the last 2 years, I think we've done like $120,000 or something like that. So, you know, if you guys want to donate, that would be awesome.
Perfect. Will you tweet out those details later?
I can. I will.
Okay. Very cool. All right, Joe. Thanks for stopping by, man.
No problem. Thank you.
Take care. Well, there you have it. Joe Lauzon fighting Clay Guida. Dan Tom, what are you going to do? Because you got to break that fight down. That just reminds me of that old cartoon that you see where just a bunch of hands.
Ball.
Yeah, and you just don't know what's going on. I mean, that could
go
so many different ways.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was hinting to him, because you look at every phase of the fight, from the grappling to the striking to the in-between scrambles. Both guys have a lot to give the other guy and can obviously hold up with the other guy, but how well? That's going to be the question I'm going to have to dig in there. But yeah, it's essentially going to be a cartoon dust ball.
Aside from your guys at Extreme Couture, how often do you spend just looking at fights and kind of breaking down fights that don't have to do with Extreme Couture?
I do it quite a bit. I think just because I like to put a little money on stuff here and there. But, I talk to old Danny Boy over there quite a bit, and George a little bit about that kind of stuff. But
it's an encyclopedia over here.
Yeah. So if there's something that I like or I want, then usually I'll run it by Dan and kind of see what he thinks and see if there's anything that lines up or X's it out for that matter, and maybe I'll lay off it or I won't touch it. But at the end of the day, for me, really just more reps and breaking down film and seeing things is key for me, no matter what, for the longevity of my career, I think. So
100%, man. I mean, we had a we could just say we had a conversation recently, about a fighter, and you're asking me for some thoughts, and I remember giving you my thoughts, but you essentially there really wasn't anything I could tell you that you already didn't know. And hearing you even on here, Eric, all bias aside, knowing you, it's been really great to see the evolution. Not just seeing you in fighters' corners more, but that knowledge is growing too every time. I mean, you're a bit of an you give yourself some credit, man. You're a bit of an encyclopedia yourself.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you. Yeah, I just think there's so many other sources out there that sometimes when you start thinking that you know it all or you have it all locked down, and you go out and you start looking at other sources, and you're like, I didn't see that, or I didn't think of that. So there's a lot of things. Like I've actually got with Dan, I think probably the last 3 or 4 fights that I've head coached or ran the camp for, and asked him, like, hey, what do you see and what are you thinking here? And then he'll give me a breakdown of something, and then I'll pick up things that I didn't see. So I mean, any outsourcing information is huge for us in the sport.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. You recently just had a fight.
Yeah.
Uriah Hall.
Yeah.
Crazy fight. It was probably the fight that people were most talking about at the end of that night.
Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, it wasn't going well early, but he came back, and one of the knocks on Uriah is sometimes when things don't go his way, he has problems turning things around. He did the opposite this time. And
he did.
Did you feel like maybe he released some demons along with that?
I do, and not getting too detailed on some of the personal conversations that him and I had during this camp, and especially like during that weight cut. I think there's a lot of things that come out during that weight cut and emotions and things of that sort. But he pointed at some of that stuff, I think, after he won, and talked about, like, what did he say, Dan? Like, every time I'm in here, I'm scared shitless or something like that.
Yeah,
along those lines. I think it was just overcoming some of those fears, and it wasn't necessarily fear of being in the octagon. I think it's more of a fear of just letting people down, and not living up to his expectations. And some of the things that we tapped into in this camp was, it's not about letting people. We're all still going to be here for you. We all still love you. We all still are going to care about you, win, lose, or draw, and to kind of let that go and just go in there and be free and have fun. And this might sound crazy, but there wasn't a doubt in my mind that we weren't going to win that we were going to win that fight. Like we had it, just had to get out of that first round. And we made so many mistakes in that first round, and even then I just we're still going to win this fight. I know we're fine. And then when he got in the stool, I think Coach Clayton just did a magnificent job of getting him back to center, getting his breathing down, and getting him back to where he can listen and focus in. And then I gave him some information that I saw that I thought was going to be to be able to get this guy out of there, and he found it, man. He pulled the trigger finally, and I wouldn't have it any other way for Uriah than that type of fight. He had to dig a little deep and get out of the weeds, and he put that fucker away.
For the longest time, we've kind of looked at Uriah as a guy who would go to Extreme Couture to get some work, but now he's been there for a while. I mean, does he feel like part of the team yet? Has he kind of molded in now?
I think for us, I mean, I can't speak for the rest of the guys there, but for me, it was one of those situations. I think when like the pretty girl at the school just transfers in and all the guys are going to hit on her, For me, I just wanted to give him an open door and let him have a place to train. He had his coaches, Coach Clayton's is phenomenal for him, and Melvin Tan, and he had a couple other guys like Jason Manley that he's working with that live out in California. So, I mean, it was never anybody really vying to get him involved, and I think that approach was actually what brought him on more. That we weren't pressuring him to be like, hey, let me corner you, or I want to take this over and run with it. Coach Clayton was the one that approached me and said, hey man, I really think that you would be a good viable aspect for Uriah in this camp, and we'd like to bring you on. And he goes, I just can't do this alone anymore. So I was welcoming it. I loved the fact that him and I got to work together and really just get down to some of the things that were bothering him in his camps, and I think we got through a lot of that.
Sometimes fighters, especially right after the fight, they don't really know what they want next, or maybe there's just so much going on that they forget. In his case, though, or I'm sorry, in your case, what would you like to see him do next? Who would you like to see him fight?
I think there's a ton. It's funny because we kind of were looking through that a little bit. I think there's some fun, dynamic matchups right now at 185 that he can, like for some reason, like Vitor comes to mind. I know he always wanted the Anderson Silva fight. I know he's booked. But you start looking at those striking style matchups right now, like, oh man, Vitor would be a fun fight. I don't know if Machida wanted to come back down to 85 or he's staying at 85s. That could be a fun fight. There's I haven't really looked at the rankings.
I like those styles, the way the styles are matching up. I'm watching it play out in my head and thinking, all right, it's going to be fun.
Some really dynamic striking matchups that you can see that I think would be some good fights.
How important is he in the gym? Because he brings this different type of style that you can't just really go out and grab a guy and go replicate that.
Yeah, when there's that friend of yours that has a really nice pit bull, it's a really sweet pit bull, but at any time this pit bull can rip your freaking face off. Mm-hmm. He has that kind of he's so warm and welcoming and such a good guy. But when you're sparring with him, at a second's notice that this dude can put you out. And even holding pads for him and doing some stuff, like we were doing a lot of the turns and the kicks and the wheel kicks and things like that. And I tell him, I'm like, listen, I don't want them to be to where I call for them. I want you to kind of throw them, just because when we set something up, I want you just to feel it and go with it. And sometimes I kind of regretted saying that. He would catch me some stuff, more to the body, but things where I was like, wow, man, you don't even see it coming.
You know what? I was thinking of, as soon as you said that, I thought of Duke Rufus, right? And Pettis kind of caught him with something like that. You ever been caught like that before? And how bad was it?
Yeah, I've been caught a couple times. Because sometimes I'll actually hold kicks with just my hand pads, and Ray gets on me about that all the time, because Ray's like, bro, I'm gonna knock you out. I can't kick hard with these things on. And I know, and I get what he's saying, but sometimes I like it just because it helps my timing, and I like catching and seeing it. So knock on wood, I've never been sat down, but I've had a couple graze the top of my head and stuff like that. I've been punched more than anything, but nothing like serious kick wise, especially holding for Ray, and Vinny Magalesh can kick, and then Uriah can kick with the best of them, so, and Brad as well.
Mm-hmm. I want to catch up a little bit on some of the things that we talked about yesterday that we'd probably like to get your opinion on. First and foremost, Triple G and Canelo. Did you watch it?
I didn't. What was cool is I was sitting right behind Michael Johnson at the fights, and Michael had a freaking laptop. And he was watching. So the fights are going on in Pittsburgh, and he's on his laptop watching the fight. So I was not able to actually sit down and watch it. But when I leaned over and talked to Mike, I was like, hey, what's going on? He goes, man, Triple G's putting it on him. Triple G's putting it on him. Because Canelo maybe won that round, but then everything else felt like in his opinion, he felt like Triple G won. So I'm looking forward to that HBO replay and really sitting down and watching it. I can tell you this, man, I've seen that judge make some awful decisions, especially in MMA.
Adelaide
Bird, man. And I don't want to out her, but it's just been one of those situations where I think her card's been pulled. There's been times where I've seen her make some horrible calls in MMA. But what is the process for this? When do you go to a review board? When does somebody say why did you make this call? And that should happen monthly or something along those lines. When you have an event and it's over, there should be, like we do in our fights, we debrief. Is there a debriefing for these?
Anytime you go to work, right? That happens to you. You have a bad night, they're going to pull you in and tell you got to get your shit together.
What did you do, or what did you see, or what made you come to this decision or conclusion?
Yeah, because they are having these conversations. You see it all the time, Eric. I recently cornered Rodney, listener of the show there, Rodney Edgar at a local MMA. It wasn't tough enough, but it was
real MMA.
Yeah. And we were walking out, and as we're walking out, here's the main event. So by the time we got our stuff back on and we're walking out, the judges have convened with the commission, and they're having their little powwow, literally in a circle, talking about, okay, what did you see on this score? And and I almost wanted to stop my duck crossing moment and just kind of be a fly on the wall, because I'm like, okay, so they are having these conversations. They're being had, but what's, like you said, what's happening though? Yeah,
and what are they doing in the meantime, like in between that time? Are they training? Are they? And I'll give Adelaide credit. She's been to my gym before and watched practices. Because I mean, I'm not going to knock her on this, but she was trying to grow. Hey, what are you seeing in this position here? She'd ask me questions, and I appreciate that fact, because you can't knock somebody for trying to learn more. But maybe they shouldn't be in that position to begin with if they don't know. Yeah. I've had refs where guys were putting a Von Flue choke on, or a phantom choke, wherever you want to call it, and they didn't identify that it was a choke. It looked more like a stalling position, and they stood him up. And I'm losing my mind. Like, how do you not know? So there has to be some sort of, functionality of what's your background like. You get in with Beltran. Beltran knows what he's doing. He trains. Jason Herzog, he trains. Big John, he trains. And he's in there, and he understands, and he's seeing round after round after round. Well, what are these judges doing? Are they training too? Are they reffing fights? Like, what are they seeing? And how are they being, put on these fights of this magnitude, man? I don't get it. Is it crooked? I don't know, man.
Are you a fan of former fighters being judges?
100%. Like, we had Trig 2 weeks ago when I cornered Spikuza and Justin out in California. And when I see Frank Trigg walking in, and I know he's going to be one of my refs, I'm like, bro, I feel great knowing that fact. And there's a sense of like, I know that my guy's going to be safe, and I know Frank's going to be fair. Does that make sense? Like, I know Frank is going to be fair. Not like, hey, Frank's one of my old coaches, or he's one of my good buddies. Nothing like that. I just know my guys are going to be safe, and Frank's going to be fair. I know that from the get, and you get that rapport with a lot of these refs. Mergliata, he's great. Yeah. I just know, like, there's guys when I see him coming in the back and they go, hey, I'm your ref tonight, and I go, fucking thank God, man.
Yeah, exactly. And on that note, with the good refs, and I understand that ref training, it requires a different training and schooling than judging, but you do see certain commissions like California letting guys like Beltran do double duty where he's doing reffing, or Texas letting guys like Kerry Hatley do judging as well, going reffing from judging, I should say. And you know what? You usually don't see suspect scorecards from the refs that step into those.
That's a great point. And here's the thing too, is like sometimes when you go to those California shows, and this kind of reared its ugly head in the last card with Spikuza, I feel like sometimes when you go to those Cali shows that there's hometown judging. You have Justin James who lost second and third round, but he dropped the guy in the first round, took him down, and then beat him up. And there's a judge that gives this guy 30-27. Granted, he lost the fight, but Justin won round one. You can't drop a guy and then beat him up the whole round and then lose the round. Yeah. But when we had a California show and I saw Herzog and Beltran, and they were both judging and reffing, I know it got two solid guys that aren't. There's no hometown decisions here, and they could have been. There could have been, and those guys are solid judges, and they're solid referees.
Yeah.
All right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a quick commercial break. We're gonna reset, and when we come back, we'll come back with John Jones, not the John Jones you're thinking, at John Jones on Twitter. We'll be back here on MMA Junkie Radio, Sirius XM Rush 93.
You know that scene in Star Wars where Darth Vader tells Luke he's his father? What if I walked in right after with my voice and was like, I'm your Uncle Walter. Can I get a lift home? That'd be crazy, right? Anyway, here George and goes.
All right, we're back here on MMA Junkie Radio. Don't miss another action-packed weekend in the English Premier League on SiriusXM FC. Coverage kicks off tomorrow morning at 7 Eastern with Tottenham taking on West Ham. It's kind of the lower teams. They're no Manchester United. SiriusXM FC Channel 85. Soccer all day, every day. Our next guest is on hold, and he is ready to go. You know him as @John Jones. I want to say John Jones, but you guys are going to think it's The Fighter. It's an MMA show. But he's pretty funny. He gets confused for Johnny Bones Jones all the time. I'll give you an example. Here's something somebody told him. Maybe your C sample can produce different results. He writes back, maybe you should really see my D sample. John is on fire, and he's cracking us up every day. So let's bring him on. John Jones, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Not too bad, man. It's been a minute since we talked to you last.
Yeah, I can't think of anything notable that's happened in the interim. Not at all.
All right, man. So tell us, what have the last 2 months been like for you?
Non-stop crazy balls insanity. So 214, when he fought and got his title back, was actually my birthday. So the entire day, it's a mix of people telling me, like, you got this, Bones, you're going to rule this, or you're going to die, you're a junkie, cheater, dead, bad Christian, you suck. It was like most of my birthdays.
Does it ever stop being fun?
No, it really doesn't. Like, at this point, it's something I know how to control, and I don't really get overwhelmed by the traffic. So it's just like a challenge to see, how fast can I reply? How can I find a funny way of agreeing with people? And, oh, God, there are another 1,000 tweets to reply to. That's pretty much my thought process going through all of it.
How do you know?
Like, I seem like the weakest, least threatening man in the world, and I feel like that's a niche I can own.
How do you know when something's gone down? Is it just as simple as all of a sudden your Twitter blows up, or have you been kind of following the sport a little bit or following John's career?
Well, I feel like it would ruin my bit if I educated myself at all. So I prefer to just let things happen organically. And usually, like, I'm sitting at home or I'm out at a bar having drinks with friends or something, and my phone just won't stop vibrating. I'll look down and see something like 600 notifications, and the first tweets that usually come in are friends that follow me saying, "Uh-oh, Bones did it again. Get ready." Like last time, there's a professional NFL player that knows who I am that follows me because he thinks it's funny. He was actually the first one to tip me off that Bones got popped for a Turinabol, and then the hate mail starts rolling in. So yeah, basically my phone just vibrates right off whatever platform it's on, and I decide, okay, well, this is what I'm doing for the next 2 days.
What are some of the weirdest things that you've ever been told on Twitter?
Oh man. My all-time favorite was years ago. A guy said, "Man, F John Jones, yeast infection-ish." Which is an incredible lie, but it was like you're holding back from going full infection. I don't know, I guess that is kind of worse. I also got another one. I wish I could have screenshotted this, but it's just all caps. "Jesus didn't do crack!" with like 50 A's. But more recently, this one just totally killed me. So this guy tweeted me thinking I'm Bones as usual, and I respond with something goofy, and he gets mad at me, and he demands that I give my handle back to Bones the Millionaire for free because I'm violating Bones's intellectual property rights by using my own name on Twitter.
God. Oh wow!
Oh my goodness!
Do you even respond to guys like that, or you just let it play out?
Oh, I keep going. I draw out all the dumb. If you're going to double down, then let's let the world see. That guy went so far down that path. I mean, there are a lot of each time this whole thing happens, there are about 5 people that get mad and demand that I change my name and give my handle up for free or claim I'm impersonating Bones. When I registered the account 2 years before, and I'm very white. I am so white and geeky. No one ever checks. The logic behind it is because Twitter didn't automatically read my mind and know who I meant. You need to move, so I don't have to spell or learn. It's that sounds like a great thing for me to do. Thank you for the advice. How deeply intelligent. But my favorite one from recently was real fighting is without rules. You are not a real fighter, John Jones. If I fought you, the only rules would be the laws of physics. #atheism.
What is going on?
Bro, they're out there.
Yeah, they are.
They're out there.
John, so, okay, you haven't really educated yourself on the sport. You don't really follow John too much. If you had to guess, though, what do you think a day in his life would be like? What? Just go through morning through nighttime.
Oh, man, that's going to be tough because since he has me blocked, I don't really know what his life is like. For what little glimpses I've seen, like he has like these really expensive cats that bite him. He has a gun collection. I imagine he spends time like bandaging his hands from cat bites, cleaning and reloading his weapons, juicing like beet juice, ginger root, apple, that kind of stuff. Not the other thing. Probably a few hours of angry, vaguely sober punching. Well, he doesn't really. I guess he doesn't really club anymore, or probably drive if he knows what's best. But honestly, these days it's really hard to kind of get a beat on him. He probably spends a little while figuring out how he can use, Jesus to excuse his mistakes. Because he likes going back to that one.
John, let's say Fox came to you or NBC and they said they want to start a new show starring John Jones and John Jones. What would the show be called and what would it be about?
Ooh, I think Keeping Up with the Joneses would be a good title for starters. and I like the idea of some sort of like a purposeful cross-country trip. Like we've each been disgraced in some way. Like I'm banned from video game development, he's banned from fighting. So I can't use computers. So I have to teach him how to use computers, and he has to train me how to fight, and I'll handle the driving.
I love it. I'll watch it.
I'm in. Totally. I don't even need to see a trailer or nothing. John Jones joins us here on the program. I'm going to turn it over to Dan Tom. Dan Tom, what do you have for John Jones?
Man, John, I appreciate you squeezing the toothpaste when it comes to the dumb and sharing it with all of us, and that is a gift that keeps on giving on the internet. But I guess my question is more.
Thank you.
Oh no, thank you. But have you had any more I guess less funny, more serious inquiries from sponsorships trying to contact you, to maybe even a USADA knock on your door? Have you had anything in between?
So I've had people email me actually, because I have johnjones.com, and people, even though my face is on it, people send email through that. I get gym invites, people asking me to be their personal trainer for free because they're a big fan. There's one priest that was, I know what he was getting at, but he was talking a lot about, I love how we both touch children in our lives. You should come out fly fishing with me in the middle of the woods, and we can talk about how we can keep touching children.
Oh no!
I dark. It's like, are we not doing phrasing anymore? This is so bad.
Do you not realize your position?
Honestly, outside of that, nothing that serious. One guy tried to get me to bang his wife.
Oh my goodness!
Oh wow!
Which I don't. Yeah, it was like sort of like a wink, nudge, nudge. My wife is a big fan. You should come visit us in Pittsburgh. You can stay with us. Wink, wink. Big fan. If I'd been single, I would have flown out there and filmed it just to see what the hell happened. Like, yeah, I look different in the off season. So what am I hitting?
Oh my gosh! Well, that's funny you mentioned that, because not just the John Jones thing or your sense of humor or even these religious topics, because obviously you're getting some of that fire because Jones is a proud Christian and all that. But you actually you can go to your Twitter page right now for people to get a little visual reference. But your pinned tweet is actually a book you wrote, and it seems to be it seems to have some similar tie-ins. And although I admittedly didn't read it, I only skimmed. The way you express yourself is very well, and it comes through in your words, and your humor, I believe, would comes through. Let's just say. So is there weird similarities on that line with I guess from your background? Does that play into the gimmick? I guess because these similarities there.
First off, thanks for that string of awesome compliments. Second, yeah, it totally does at times, because the TLDR of the book is, I was raised by radically evangelical Christians, homeschooled, abusive environment. The book is about how pursuing a career in video games got me out of there and into a good life. So I know a lot of the background. I know Bones is the son of a preacher. And growing up, I saw a lot of people that would excuse questionable behavior by using God as a get-out-of-jail-free card. like for the most part, like when the bone stuff happens, I'll clown around and play a little bit dumber than I really am, and I accidentally developed a character for this. But when the religious stuff comes up, it's like you're like every hypocrite I grew up with. Like, why you're like the worst commercial for God. It's like, yeah, here's a big God guy, coke and bitches and money and strippers and cocaine and drugs and money. It's like, yeah, that was Jesus through and through. So like whenever he sees that, I bristle a little bit, and I have the book. I'm obliged to do some sort of commentary. Like I don't want to come after him too hard because he beats people half to death for a living, and he probably already hates me.
And he knows me.
It's like I wouldn't want to be alone in a room with him, but I got my thing, and it's just be a better example, dude. Like I'm not religious now, but cringe.
Hey John, how are you doing on time?
I've got plenty of time.
Okay, look, we need to take a commercial break and then do a soft exit and start our second hour of the show. You mind being on hold, and we'll come back and ask you a few more questions that we still have?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll hang out.
All right, Danny, why don't you put John on hold, and we'll take our last commercial break here of this hour, come back and wrap up the first hour, and then we'll get John right back on. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio here on Sirius XM Rush, Channel 83.
Stretch marks are the new tats. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
We're back on MMA Junkie Radio, and we're wrapping up this first hour. John Jones is on fire, so we decided to keep him around and have a little bit more fun with him. We still have some questions. Eric has some questions for him. We just found out that Eric's brother's a video game developer, and he says he's just like him.
Yeah. It almost sounds like my little brother on the phone right now. So,
yeah,
my little brother just started his own studio. It's called High Horse Entertainment. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I know there's a big crossover between MMA and video games. It seems like a lot of people are into it.
You know, it's funny. When I met Stipe, my brother was working on Call of Duty Black Ops. And every time I see Stipe from here on out, he's like, "How's your brother doing?"
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Like
you get a lot of that. Hey, how's that new game coming along.
Yeah, can I get that game? You know, what do you think? I was like,
Tavares all over you? I know he's a big gamer.
Yeah, but Brad's more of the sports guy. My brother does a lot of, like, he did get Guitar Hero, Call of Duty, that stuff, and then he just developed his own. So.
Do you do it? Do you play video games?
I try, but I just don't have the time anymore.
I think I saw your kids beating you up in the UFC.
Oh,
the
girls will plug in on the UFC, play knockout mode, and my 2 daughters will sit there and talk shit to each other. It's epic.
I've seen them in the gym before, hitting mitts and all that stuff.
Yeah,
they kind of like that.
They love it. They love it, man. So my wife is not a fan of it, but I love it.
You play video games, Dan?
Yeah, man, not too much anymore, but I'm more into the first-person shooters, Call of Duties. Those are my my things I like.
I think John, he developed Gears of War 3, I think, or something like that, which is a real big video game.
Yeah.
So he's definitely good at what he does, and those are some pretty massive games that he's worked on. So when we come back in the second hour, we will talk to John Jones a little bit more, and then Jason, the intern from the Couve, he's going to come back and he's going to talk about Ultimate Fighter Season 26. He's got to catch us up because the show started before I think the week that we went on vacation, and so we've missed a lot. He's going to get us to where we need to be. But right after that, we'll be able to take phone calls. We'll go over some of the news. 866-522-2846. You're welcome to call in. Get in that queue right now because it's going to start to get packed. You want to get your spot because you want to be first. That's the rule, right? Be first. Don't let anybody get ahead of you. I know Marco from Waco's probably pounding his chest right now. That's right, goes. Be first. We will be right back here on MMAjunkie Radio, and you're going to love everything we have coming for you because I forgot what I was going to tease at the end. But we'll be right back. on MMAjunkie Radio. This is the start of the second hour. We had so much fun with Jon Jones that we're bringing him back. He's coming back here on the show. Jon, are you there?
I am here. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, no, we had a blast. We want to keep this going. And Jon, as we were waiting there during the break, we were thinking, all right, somebody's got to put together a poster for Keeping Up with the Joneses. And whoever does, I don't know what that prize is just yet, but it'll be something cool. And we want to see you guys tweet out that poster for that show, because I definitely tune in. I might actually even look it up on my phone and just hope it's there. Yeah, you definitely would. Hey, Jon, so let me turn you over real quick to Eric Nicksick. He's got a couple questions for you. Go ahead, Eric.
Jon, these guys kind of answered my question during the break, man. I just want to kind of know more about you and what you did, but they said you're a video game developer and kind of where you lay your head and everything else. But listening to you talk, you remind me a lot of my little brother, who actually video game develops himself, and just the wittiness and some of the things. I don't think you can handpick a better guy to be the other Jon Jones on Twitter for sure, man. So I definitely enjoy listening to you talk, bro.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. It's a hobby literally only I can have. I mean, this guy, and I'm not giving up the name or anything. So it's just like, all right, this is just a part of my life now. I don't control when it starts or stops, but I can act like a doofus for a little bit and just and relax. I find it oddly relaxing.
I love it, bro. Can you tell me where what studio and stuff like that you work for? Is that non-touchable?
Right now I work for a company called Autodesk that sells tools to game developers.
Gotcha.
And movies, film, TV. Like if you've ever seen anything computer generated, this company made it. And I train people in using project management software. So I get to fly all over the country and work with developers. Like I might be flying out to Montreal on Monday for a last-minute trip to meet with a few studios out there.
Awesome.
So it's pretty cool. You get to see what people are making. You get to help them learn how to make stuff better, make sure games I want to play coming out on time.
What do you plan right now? I want to know what you're playing.
Arts Vancouver. Oh, I picked up Destiny 2 this week, and I basically can't put it down.
Nice.
I'm not a huge multiplayer shooter guy, but oh my god, it's gorgeous. I started out as an artist, so I'm just like drooling. Like I'm sitting there looking at the wall while I'm getting shot. I mean, I'm the worst, but it's pretty.
Is there anything on the horizon that we should all be looking out for? I've been trying to find a new video game.
Honestly, I kind of hit all my big targets. I've heard rumors they're going to be remastering the BioShock series,
okay.
But I haven't gotten confirmation on that. Those are my favorites ever. Like I would do anything they create, I will do. Really curious about any upcoming Star Wars game. I guess I think it was Star Wars Battlefield is coming out with or Battlefront's coming out with a single-player campaign in the next month or two, and I'm a huge Star Wars geek, and I'm basically going to disappear from the face of the earth for a while once I really dig into that.
Unless something happens to Bones Jones.
And a couple of weeks ago, I was actually in Vancouver, and I was at Electronic Arts for work.
Oh, okay.
And I got recognized in person by the UFC dev team. Like what?
Yeah, that's
so one of the principal programmers found me. He came over and said, "Excuse me, are you Jon Jones? Can I take a picture with you?" And then he got me.
It would be genius on their part if they plugged you in on that video game as one of their unlockable characters.
Yes.
Would you do that, Jon? Would you be an unlockable character?
I would do if I was invited. I would do everything I could to make that happen, but I'm too shy to ask directly.
We'll push for that, bro. That would kick ass.
Can you imagine John with all the little ping pong balls trying to do the movements?
It's just 99 on every attribute.
Yes, yes.
Great. Oh, that would be amazing.
Including weight.
Hey, John. All right,
he has a powerful punch, but he moves about a centimeter a year.
You mentioned the price on the Twitter handle. Is there a price? Do you know what that price is if Jon Bones Jones asked for it?
No price. I would never sell. Partly because, I mean, I've never. I have a weirdly generic name, and I've tried my whole life to kind of own that. And online, if you can get like the .com or to get the ad or whatever, it's like what real estate. Like I don't want to be Pimp Flex 42069 MAGA or whatever. I'd rather just be my own name. And plus, a tiny petty part of me likes the idea that even if Bones did want it, he couldn't have it because it's mine.
I like that.
There's like no point for me to be that bitchy, but it's mine. It's my name. I got the check mark, the check mark is like Twitter superpowers. Holy crap,
bro!
It's
Have you
Can't go
ever
back.
been asked to host an event or anything like that as yourself, not as John Bones Jones?
No, not really. Like I'm usually like slow news cycle filler, and I usually don't get like any. I don't really get a shot like the good gigs or the big ones. Although I did, I got a couple tickets for to attend Ring of Honor in New York City here in a couple months from someone I met through the whole thing. One of their pro fighters.
You gonna do it?
I have a lot of. Oh, absolutely done. Yeah. I've taken a friend of mine that's actually a UFC fan and follows the whole thing and knew about me independently of this. Like after getting popped and after all the ridiculous stuff, like I was on SportsCenter, BBC, after all of that, I've been getting recognized in public. Like I went to my local beer homebrew store for a class, and they recognized my name from it. At my corner bar, like people I don't know are asking to pose for pictures with me because they heard and are aware of it. Like I don't really tell my real life friends about this that much. They just find out, and they're like, "Is this a thing you do in your life? Is this just some part of you you've never explained?"
That's pretty crazy.
It's strange. I was like my company employee of the week for my team a couple of weeks ago because they all became aware of what I was doing on Twitter and all that silliness.
Well, John, you mentioned that the John Bones Jones, he blocked you on Twitter, so you don't really know what he does. So why don't we play a little game? Let's do this. Let's see. I'm going to read you tweets, and they're either going to be from John Bones Jones or they're going to be from another celebrity. You have to identify who this is coming from, okay?
That's beautiful. I love it. That's it.
All right. I just had the thrill of a lifetime. Saw the clock change from 1:59 a.m. to 1 a.m. I love clocks. Is that John's Bones or is that someone else?
I'm gonna go with someone else.
That is Larry King.
Like
you are correct.
Larry King.
How about this one? I can't believe my grandmother's
Those
making
doesn't
me
seem like
take
the
out the
numbers,
garbage. I'm rich. Fuck this. I'm going home. I don't need this shit.
Actually, that's Kanye. I think I remember that one.
Oh, no, that's 50 Cent.
Oh, 50 Cent?
That's 50 Cent.
Let's not read into that. Next.
Maybe good guys don't always finish last.
I'm gonna guess Bones for that one.
That was Jones Bones on May 31st. There you go. How about this one?
Wow.
LOL. Let's not forget me popping your cherry.
Oh, that sounds kind of like what I imagine Bones is.
This guy's spot on. Look at that. All right. As my boys from LMAFO or LMFAO would say, I'm in Miami, bitch.
That doesn't seem like Bones to me. I'd be curious who that is.
It's Paris Hilton.
That would be a Paris Hilton.
Yeah.
That would be.
Oh.
All right. How about this one? I'd walk through fire for my daughter. Well, not fire because it's dangerous, but a super humid room. But not too humid because my hair.
Ryan Reynolds.
I was going to say, like, yeah, there's no way that's Bones. It's a lot of thought for other people.
You want to take a guess who it was?
I have no idea. Who would that be?
Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, he's the best.
Isn't he? How about this one? Tell your cameraman he did a great job. Tell your cameraman he did a great job hiding that belly.
That sounds like a burn from Bones to DC.
Yep.
Look at this guy. He's
on it, man.
Maybe you guys do have a connection here.
I wouldn't know. It's only one way.
All right, John, we've taken up too much of your time, man, but thanks for being a good sport and coming on here and breaking things down from the perspective of the @John Jones on Twitter.
Thanks so much for having me. This was a blast. You guys have a great day.
You too, John. That was awesome, man.
Thanks,
See ya.
Thanks. See you.
Well, there you have it. That's John Jones on Twitter. You can follow him @John Jones, not @Johnny Bones Jones. Pretty funny guy, right?
That was awesome.
That was really funny. No?
That was awesome.
That guy is he's a good sport because he's in a situation that probably would have pissed a lot of people off.
He would have just
but he owned it.
Somebody would just shut down their Twitter.
Yeah.
And wave the white flag. That's amazing.
So we called for it. We told people, hey, call in, get in that queue. And you know what? Some people are smart. 866-522-2846. Let's go to Brandon in Louisville. What's up, Brandon?
I don't know who these smart people you're talking about are, but I'm here. How's it going?
Not too bad. How are you?
Doing good. Look, I know I said y'all deserved a nice vacation. That's bullshit.
You there?
Hello?
I think George might have sniped him or
Yeah,
something. Right?
Got him.
We got you.
There he is. We can hear you now.
Hello? Okay. I know I said you guys deserved a nice long vacation, but don't ever do that shit to me again. It's been a long week and a half without you guys.
It has been. It feels good to be back, though. We just got to get over this mic rust we get. See, we get that stuff in the media, too.
Mic rust.
Yeah, that's true.
How can we help you, Brandon?
Actually, just a great interview there with the real John Jones.
Thank you.
He's a funny guy. Is Adam Martin still doing the writing for the MMA awards?
You know what? That would be kind of funny. I know who does Adam Hunter does that, right?
Yeah.
Adam
Hunter, I'm sorry.
Is Varner still doing?
Because
they kind of co-did things for a while, but I think Joey's doing other stuff now.
Okay, because Joey can be on that.
Oh yeah,
funny.
Oh yeah.
I just see some good skits out of there.
100%.
That guy seems to be like, he's a great sport. He knows what he's getting into. They could have some fun with that.
I think you're onto something.
Yeah, I think that has to happen this year.
Well, look, I'm not going to take any time. I'm hoping the queue's full. I just want to say it's great that you're all back. Hope you had a great trip. And looking forward to a whole week of shows next week.
Awesome, and hopefully we'll get George back. I don't know if we get him back Monday, but I'm pretty sure we will get him back next week as we test it out this morning. All right, Brandon.
I mean, let's not go crazy.
Hey, Brandon, give us how's Louisville football doing?
Well, we were doing great until Clemson decided to curb stomp our ass Saturday.
Yeah, that kind of happens, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of happened. Clemson's a damn good team. I think it's going to be them and Alabama the third time in a row in that national title game. But we're not done yet. We've got some couple weeks of soft games to tune us up. Our next real big one's Florida State, down in Florida State, where they're looking for revenge, and
it's almost like
hopefully we can get them again.
Yeah.
Hey, Eric, you follow Florida State.
That's my team, man. But Brandon's right. We're in trouble unless we got this true freshman quarterback. If he can start playing, we'll see. But Lamar Jackson might come down and fillet us again.
Honestly, I think there's going to be too much revenge in your guys' mind from last season. I don't see Louisville coming out of there with a win this year.
I hope.
Oh, aren't you too cute? Look at you two. All right, thanks for the call, Brandon.
Later, guys.
866-522-2846. You can join Brandon there in the queue. He just left, but his spot's open. You can take it. Give us a call. We will take your call, put you on the air. Let's talk a little bit about what's been going on, guys. Did you guys see Jeremy Stevens, the picture he took? Conor McGregor's mom?
Yeah, I did.
All right, guys. Where do we stand on this? Because I actually thought I was going one way. Then I started going the other way on this. What do you think? Did he cross the line? Did he not? Let's start with you, Eric.
Not at all. Not at all. That there's a level of just like genius comedy. Like if the opportunity presented itself and that's epic right there.
Does Conor look at it and laugh?
He's got to.
I think he's got to, right?
He's got to.
Like he got me.
Oh, bro, you got me.
Yeah.
But that was pretty damn good, man.
How about you, Dan Tom?
I don't think it was over the line at all, and I will say this: tell me if you guys co-signed Jeremy Stevens for being just an animal, right? Like that quintessential dog inside of the cage. He's like one of the best shit-eating grins ever, right? Like as far as that goes, like his smile really sold that photo. Like he really nailed it. Like I say that in a positive way, by the way. Like it's great.
What was the hashtag that he put?
Your mom knows who the fuck I am, right? Something like that.
See, it wasn't even like disrespectful. Like he didn't say anything really out of line. It's just the picture itself I thought was just absolutely perfect.
Don't you just pull it up and go, huh, all right, he got me, and then go, fuck it, I'm a millionaire. I'm gonna go do millionaire stuff.
I think Conor's got a big enough sense of humor, a good enough sense of humor to take that, in stride.
Yeah, I would almost say him not responding back would probably be the best move. Just don't give it any attention. He just got you, man.
Yeah.
What are you going to possibly say that would be better than that?
We have a thing, myself and Dennis and a couple other guys at the gym that anytime we run into one of Vinny's old opponents, we always take a picture with it and send it to Vinny.
That's great.
So we ran into like Phil Davis, and we'll take a picture with Phil Davis and send it to Vinny, or we're all flipping him off, or Ryan Bader. And Vinny's like, God damn it, you guys are assholes.
That is awesome.
That's great.
You guys saw in the news, Hirota was pulled from his match. We saw yesterday him walking to the scale. Did not look very good. People had to prop him up. I think we all felt pretty safe when we saw that video that was probably what was going to happen, right? Dan, your thoughts on that happening?
Aside from, this like the third or fourth week in a row, me scraping more of my analysis into the trash before I get to eat it, I was really glad they made this call. This is politically, obviously, with safety for one, and especially being emphasized by guys like Tim Hague. We're kind of realizing and seeing other commissions that should handle things better, not. So in that sense, I'm really glad. But also just, being real, I'm really glad because, man, I love this sport, but we are hypocrites, man. We love this sport, but we also want the best for our guys, and whether we're coaching or working in the media, we get to know these people a little better, and you don't want to see anybody taking unnecessary damage. That may still make us hypocrites at the end of the day, but I'm fine with that, and I still have a line, and that's my line, and I'm glad they pulled an unhealthy guy off.
Yeah, you bring up a great point. I think for the casual fan, you see that fighter for that 15 minutes that they're in the cage, and you don't really get to see what it takes to get there and some of the things leading up to that, or some of the training injuries that they have, and especially that weight cut. And what was he, 5 pounds off, and he looked that bad. I'm all for these open weight classes now, and bringing more weight classes into the UFC or into MMA. Just give these guys the opportunity not to have to cut so much damn weight. And this USADA thing, it's been good for the sport, but especially with the IV stuff, these guys were able to rehydrate. I don't know, man. It's kind of a double-edged sword, I think, a lot of times.
I was actually impressed with the reaction that I saw on social media. A lot of people, let's be honest, MMA fans can be spoiled brats sometimes. And this time, I think it was pretty across the board. Hey, that was the right move. Just take the fight off the card.
Yeah.
Safety for the fighters. That kind of ties me over to another topic that I want to talk to you guys about. The main event, Luke Rockhold and David Branch. Some people were saying, hey, David Branch, that tap at the end of strikes, we haven't seen that in a while, right? But then some people were saying, well, look, if we're going to talk about CTE and all that type of stuff, and we want the best for fighters, why should we have a problem with this? What do you guys think?
But what was the problem, though, that people were saying?
People were saying, how at the end, the tap 2 strikes, people were saying, you got to go out on your shield, that sort of thing.
Like, unless you've been flattened out and had somebody flatten your ass out and starts boxing your ears off, and I mean, no shame.
Fight another day, man.
Yeah, live to fight another day. And I'll tell you what, in my opinion, David Branch is one of the best all-around fighters in the game. Live to fight another day for sure. And none of us are in that guy's shoes. Maybe he blew a rib. Maybe something else was going on there that we don't know. But the last thing in the world that I think a guy's a puss or something because he tapped due to strikes because he's flat. Like, no way, man. No freaking way. That guy's a stud.
How often do you have heart-to-hearts with your fighters?
I would say all the time. I think that's part of my job, is to really delve into who they actually are and understand what's going on and how they work. I think it's quite a bit. But I think a lot of that damage and things that take place is onus is on us as coaches as well. You have to understand and see what's going on in the sparring and the training and even in a fight. Sometimes you got to know when to call it quits.
Should a Hirota get paid for showing up?
No.
Dan?
No, but I'm curious of what they're going to do with Charles Rosa, as far as he doesn't get the opportunity to get the other half of his pay.
He should get his show money. He should get his show money.
Yeah, show for sure, but it's kind of again, there's probably more of a thing like that probably has to deal with the management and contract time between the fighters and the UFC, of course, but there's so many of these things now. You have to account for these things happening to protect the fighter's pay. I mean, he's probably gonna get a show. I'm sure UFC will be good about that, but you got to think. And again, Hirot's health is more important, but then also sympathy for Rosa as well, because these guys, they're depending on this to make their living, and with the structure of half your pay to win or just show money, I mean, it hurts. It hurts these guys.
Yeah, all the way down to the coaches, all the way down to the training staff, everything, man. You take the time off of work to go and travel, and as a coach, I need that win too, just as much. You're taking the time to go and do everything that you're putting in, and there's a lot that goes into this stuff. And unfortunately, the guy didn't make weight. And that's the right call.
Right.
That's the right call, is to pull him, and that's just some of the ugly things that happen in this sport. But you have to take it with stride.
As a coach, would you have even let him walk out like that, as bad as he was?
Man, I don't know. Like, I don't know. There's a part of me that says no, and there's that Viking part that's like, bro, we're fine, let's go and suck it up and let's get on that. But when you're that far off, you're 5 off. You're 5 off. So.
And he looked like he had to kill himself just to be 5 off.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the reality of it was Rosa going to even take the fight? The commission can pull it. There's so many variables that come into play, but I don't know. He looked awful up there.
What would it be like being on the other side, if you were on Rosa's side, knowing that someone, let's just say they let the fight go? Would there be anything within you going, this doesn't feel right?
No.
Nope.
Not me. I did my job. I made my weight. I'm here to fight.
Yeah.
It's on him. Me personally, as if I was Rosa's coach or on that side, and let's say he hopped on that scale and was 5 off, I'd say you're gonna go cut the other 5. In the time where you have that hour in between, even if he's not gonna make it, I'm still gonna make him put his sweats on and his plastics and start breaking another. I mean, that's just some psychological warfare that you go through. We see it quite a bit. Guys 2 pounds off, and they want to take the easy route, and I'll take 20%. Well, no, go cut that weight, and then we'll take your money.
At Extreme Couture, we always talk about the vibe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it any different right now that you have a guy that's fighting for a world title in Kevin Lee?
That's a great question.
Does it lift everybody else's spirits up?
I would say yes, but I mean, this is one of those. I think the environment that we set, I feel like all of our guys' fights are important, if that makes sense. Like this one is obviously very important for Kevin and the gym, for that matter, and the coaches that are involved. But I feel like it's kind of business as usual. When Misha fought for the title, we kind of kept it that way as well. We just take everything in stride and make sure that she has what she needs, and same with Kevin. But I'm definitely looking forward to that scrap. I mean, dude, we're 2 weeks away, right?
Yeah, crept up on us, didn't it?
We got Brad and we got Kevin on that same card, man. I'm excited.
We talked a little bit with Joe Lauzon about the Performance Institute.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great thing for the fighters.
For sure.
But what has it done for the gyms in Las Vegas? Does it take away a little bit?
I don't think so at all.
Does it add on?
I work really well with Bo, the strength and conditioning coach over there. As a matter of fact, Bo and I we talk a lot, and I really appreciate the fact that Bo keeps me abreast on a lot of the things going on with my guys, and vice versa. And with a strength and conditioning coach like Bo, he doesn't take precedence over what the whole camp is supposed to look like. So for example, like with Gray, there's certain things that I want Gray to do and Gray needs, and I can go to Bo and say, hey, this is what, and Bo won't take it over and be like, well, no, we're going to push it through this and we're going to do this, because sometimes the strength and conditioning coaches, they want to be the guy, and like, oh, we're going to hit this today. Well, we have other practices that we need to take into consideration as well. And man, I'll tell you what, those guys over there have been nothing but professionals, and just a valuable aspect of what we do. I'll tell you what, Brad sparred yesterday, and we get done with 3 good hard rounds, and this dude's not even breathing heavy. And the first thing I think of is like, man, he's killing it over there at the PI with Bo and those guys, man. Mm-hmm. The rehab.
So Bo knows is basically what you're saying.
Bo knows. And they're studs over there. They're absolute studs over there.
All right, why don't we do this, guys? We're going to reset. We're going to come back with Jason, the intern. Well, formerly the intern. He spent some time here, I think about almost 2 months here at MMAjunkie Radio as our intern. Helped us put together the Junkie Gathering, was a big help in all that. He's going to come on, and he's going to break down Tough 26, get us caught up. Jason from the Couve is coming up next. We'll be right back here on MMAjunkie Radio, Sirius XM 93.
the link into the MMA Junkie Radio Network. Hit us up on Twitter.com at MMA Junkie Radio. This is MMA Junkie Radio. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
30 minutes to go. If you want to call in, 866-522-2846. Right now, we have Dan Tom here to my left. Eric Nicksick co-hosting the show, doing an excellent job from what I get on my feedback here via text, via Twitter. Everybody having a good time with you, and you've always been really good to Junkie Nation, except in that flag football game.
I've missed you guys. I missed you guys. You wouldn't have me on.
randomly get shit talk from him on like Instagram or Brad Tavares about the football game.
Oh yeah, Tavares and Boston Salmon chimed in on Twitter.
Oh, did they?
Oh yeah, they did.
Where were you that day?
Yeah, where were you?
I was probably behind a computer, chained to it, and watching fight footage. So,
what would you have done if you saw him on the Junkie side?
I would have whooped his ass. I would have filleted him just like I filleted everybody else.
I would have been doing I would still have been on Extreme Couture's team because I would have been doing you guys a favor by going on their team. I'm that terrible, so it would have been some inside espionage there.
Catch the ball, Dan.
All right, let's go to Jason Buckham. He is our former intern here at MMA Junkie Radio. Spent some time with us. And one of his duties here on MMA Junkie Radio was to recap The Ultimate Fighter, and we wanted to keep that tradition because we really like Jason. We really want him to do well. He's got his own podcast out there, so you definitely want to give that a listen to. But I'll let him talk about that. Let's bring him in. Jason Buckham, are you there?
Yeah, how's it going, man?
How you doing, old friend?
You know what? I'm hanging in there. What about you?
Not too bad. How's life been in the Couve since MMA Junkie Radio?
It's been good. Just working on the podcast, Overhand Right Radio, as you know, and I know a lot of Junkie Nation are listeners of it. And I even had Dan Tom on, and we broke down 213 back in when it was International Fight Week. So lots of love from Junkie Nation, so I really appreciate it. But yeah, life's been good, man.
Very cool. All right, so here's where we stand. Before we left the vacation, we were able to recap Episode 1 of The Ultimate Fighter, Season 26. But that's kind of where we left it, Jason. So you want to pick up from there and let us know what we've missed so far?
Okay, so if you watched Episode 1, you saw Roxanne get the first win for Team Gaethje of the season, and good win by her, TKO. And next fight was, I believe it was Deanne Bennett, and she came out in the second fight, and I'm just going to say it now, guys. She's my favorite to win the whole season. I really like her just because she has good striking, and when she took the fight to the ground, she was relentless with the ground and pound. So she got the first win for Team Alvarez, tied it up. Since then, we had 2 more wins for Team Gaethje. Montana Stewart, she submitted Ariel Beck. I forget what choke it was, but it was a really neat choke. She got it to the ground, and it was how she set it up was a masterpiece. And then the big upset of the season. And one thing I always found out about the Ultimate Fighters that have like a title online is I never liked how they have seeds, right? Like the first seed versus the 16th. I never really like that. I kind of like it where the coaches come and they just say you're fighting this week and you got to be prepared, and you don't know who you're going to fight. But of course, with the title on the line, Dana White and the boys, they make up seeds, and everybody had Lauren Murphy, UFC veteran, fought a lot of tough people like Sarah McMahon, like you mentioned on the show, and she was the number 3 seed. And it was actually ironic because a couple episodes earlier, she was already looking ahead to the semifinal, thinking about, I'm going to fight my teammate, so I got to make sure, to be prepared for that. But Nico Montano, she came in, and she was the number 14 seed, and she got the upset over Lauren Murphy. So I don't really like the seeding, but it is interesting when you see an upset like this, where a lot of people had Lauren Murphy coming in and possibly winning the whole thing, and she loses to someone who, coming in the house had a record of 3-2, so not very, just above a 500 fighter. But Nico Montano got the win, and right now he's sitting Team Gaethje 3-1 over Alvarez. So it's an interesting season. I like how a lot of these women are going out and getting the finish, right? They don't leave it in the hands of the judges. We see this year after year. People complain about the judging. Well, these women aren't waiting for the judges. They're going out there, getting the TKO finish, getting the submission. So far, I'd like to compare the seasons. The last season, 25 Redemption, I really liked that season. I saw a lot of good fights. But this is, going up, there's a title line, and I think this might be the best season we've seen in a while.
Hey, well, the thing about the Ultimate Fighter is it's a tough tournament, and you may lose, but if you're going to lose, you want to lose early on, because there's a good chance you can be brought back. And I have to imagine if they're going to go into that pool of females, Lauren Murphy's probably the one that would be brought back. So all hope is not lost for her. Jason, what do you think about the coaching The coaches' dynamic, they don't really seem to be going at each other too much. Are they into their job as being coaches?
They are. I mean, you look at them coach, and I think Eddie Alvarez does a really good job at explaining game plans. When I watch The Ultimate Fighter, he has a really good job of communicating, because I think he'd make a good coach after he's done fighting, which, you know, is in the future a long time, because he's still got a lot of fights left. But I like how he does that. And Gaethje, I like how he's honest with, you know, his team. He doesn't, you know, BS around. He's very straightforward. So I think the coaches from that aspect are really good coaches for these women going through this grinding, tough tournament that they are for a world title. And when it comes to, you know, the beef between them, I don't think they really have a lot. Look, Justin Gaethje's had one fight in the UFC. You know, they haven't really been in the same organization for a long time. So I don't think there's that beef. I think it's just mutual respect. And they're like, you know what, we're both going after the 155 title. This division's stacked right now. Let's go have a good fight. And if you're going to look at a fight that could win Fight of the Year possibly, you know, you want these two guys in it. So I think it's just mutual respect between the two.
I was a little soured on this season. I'm going to tell you guys why. Going in, there were talks for Kevin Lee being one of the coaches alongside Justin Gaethje. And I thought, A, excellent fight if you can make them fight.
Yeah.
And B, how do you keep them from not fighting in that gym? Because Kevin Lee is made for television.
For sure.
Eric, your thoughts on them passing over Kevin Lee for the Ultimate Fighter?
I thought it made a lot of sense. He's a local guy, you know, but I mean, it sounds
kind of worked out though, right?
Yeah,
but
obviously they probably had bigger plans for him. So, but
how
yeah,
do you think he would have done though? I mean, you've coached him. How do you think he would do as a coach?
I think he'd been awesome. I mean, Kevin's knowledgeable. He's a great guy. He's got a great line of coaches that help him that he would have brought on, and Coach Follis and Dewey, probably Drysdale. I mean, it would have been epic to have him on that show. And we all know Kevin. We know Kevin. And then there's Kevin on TV. And, you know, he would have done great.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
I would have made for really good TV. I'll tell you that.
Jason, how do you think that would have panned out if Kevin Lee was on there, say opposite Justin Gaethje?
It would have been great television right there. Like you guys said, Kevin Lee, he's made for TV, and Justin Gaethje, he would have loved talking a little smack too. So I thought that would have been good, but in the end, I mean, Kevin has an interim title fight coming up, so I mean, TV timer, you know, in a title fight, I bet he'd probably go with the title. And you know what? Maybe it should have been, because maybe Eric would have got some TV time, got a smile in front of the camera. So I don't know. Maybe it would have worked out.
We haven't seen very many hijinks from the females in the house so far. Not very much drama as we did in the last female season. What do you think? Does this group have that within them? Do you think eventually just people are going to get on each other's nerves, or is this the group that's going to kind of keep it together, Jason?
Everything's going to break down. I don't think there's been a season where something hasn't gone wrong, almost. So, what are we, episode 5 coming up? I say give it to maybe episode 8, and then things are going to fall apart. Just wait.
Episode 8, he's calling it. I know that one thing that they did this season, and you can tell if you watch the Contenders series, they would bring the girls in to watch those fights. So it lets them get out of the house a little bit and see some fights, and maybe we'll see a little bit of drama here and there. I don't know. Are you guys drama guys, or do you just watch them purely for the fights? Be honest.
I'm not a drama guy, but what I was going to say, you're touching on it now, is, you know, maybe I'm not the best person to say it because I haven't been religiously watching the last seasons of Tough, let's just say, but it feels like maybe even through the social media snippets, what they're getting out there, it feels like they're doing a better job at telling the fighters' stories. Now, of course, we want to see the fighters fight and who wins, but, you know, maybe Jason can shed more light on that, but it seems like this season, if anything you can say, they're doing a better job of getting those stories out there, like the aforementioned Lauren Murphy, who they did a lot on. I don't know, that's just my
100%. I think they're doing... Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying that's just my opinion. It feels like they're doing a good job on the stories.
What do you think, Jason?
Oh, yeah, they're doing a great job. I felt the shift in that in last season as well, but they're just doing a good job of getting you connected, you know, with these women that are in the house and experience. I think that's one thing. A lot of people have been, you know, talking down to Tough, and I think that's one of the aspects they wanted to pick up is, you know, before these women get until whoever makes it to the finale in the title fight, let's make you feel like you're connected with them in one way, or let's get you on someone's bandwagon so that, you know, even if you don't win the tournament, you can still get a shot in the UFC, like we've seen tons of people do in the Ultimate Fighter. So let's get people connected with them, know their story, and, you know, build a fan base for them. And I think they're doing a good job at that, so I really like it.
Question for all you guys, but I'll start here with the coach. is the Ultimate Fighter still a good breeding ground for new talent?
I think so. And Emily's one of my girls. She's on the show. We talked about this tryout, and she usually fights at 115. This being at 125, we thought it worked in our favor that she wouldn't have to cut that much weight. And if she had multiple fights, she was going to be able to jump right in and do it. And if she does well, then that's going to parlay her right into a career in the UFC. So absolutely, I think that, and I actually liked the Contender Series, man. We had two of our guys on that show. One got a contract, and Dan should have got a contract in my opinion. Ige, I thought he had one of the best fights of the season.
What more could he have done?
What more could he? I mean, it was epic. But to answer your question, yeah, I think anything you can do to get some exposure in this sport and get into the top level like the UFC, you do it. You jump on it.
Jason?
I always think the Ultimate Fighter is a good proving ground. Because look at they go out and they grab the best fighters in each division, right? So they're bringing these guys and women that might not be well known, and they're bringing it to your TV, and you get to watch it every Wednesday whenever it's on, and you get to see these people that might not be UFC ready yet, but they go through this tournament and they get some time. And we see, look at Usman, who got a big win last Saturday by knockout. And for instance, the last time they did when they were doing the strawweight tournament, Joanna wasn't in the tournament, but Rose was, and now Joanna beat Carla Esparza for the title. And now all of a sudden at UFC 217, you got Rose that was in the tournament and Joanna, and people were talking smack about that whole one, like, oh, it's for a title, well, this division, we don't know anybody. And now that's one of the major fights at 217 on a huge card.
Right.
So people talk smack, but I always think that the Ultimate Fighter, they're bringing the best fighters right to your TV. So, I mean, I always love watching. I always have.
We have a former Tough alum that's going to have a big fight, Michael Bisping, fighting GSP. He gets a win there. Do you think that's the greatest fighter to ever come off of the Ultimate Fighter?
Hands down.
I mean, he may already be there, right, when you think about it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think if he gets the win, it might be the thing where he just rolls off in the sunset. But, yeah, I think he's hands down the best alum.
What do you think, Dan?
It's hard to make an argument against him, right? I mean, try to think of a name that jumps in your head.
You got to throw out, like, the Forrest Griffins of the world.
Yeah,
Rashad Evans.
Yeah.
Boy, yeah, that's tough. I mean, there's those classic names for sure, but aside from maybe a classic name, I would still edge out the argument, the other way. But yeah, it's that's definitely one that's got me head scratching my head for right now. But yeah, you can make an argument either way.
I think if you beat Anderson,
and GSP,
and then you beat GSP, and you can argue the weight difference and everything else, but you're talking about two of the greatest mixed martial artists of our time.
Yeah,
and he beats them both, and he has a title at 185. Man, it's hard to argue that.
Yeah. All right, Jason. Well, thanks very much for coming on the show and breaking that down, getting us up to speed here. We are going to do this every week, so now that we're back from vacation, we'll get back on schedule and make it a point of having you on every week. You down?
That sounds good to me, man.
Hey, Jason, I just wanted to say, thanks for the recap today. And I was listening to your most recent episode of Overhand Right Radio, and you and the other gentleman were doing a great job of recapping the recent action of, Canelo Triple G and UFC Pittsburgh. So keep it up, man. I'm really enjoying your podcast.
I appreciate it. Yeah, if anybody wants to go listen, we talk about boxing, MMA, and just, we're just a couple guys breaking it down and love doing it. So Overhand Right Radio, Facebook, Twitter, iTunes, SoundCloud. So, if you're a big MMA fan, we're here for you.
Thank you, Jason. Thanks for stopping by.
Okay, take care, guys.
See you, Jason.
Guys, on that same topic of Bisping and GSP, what do you think? GSP, is he going to look different, or is he going to look the same guy?
I don't know. I mean,
how would you game plan for him?
For GSP?
Yeah. Like, what would you anticipate him looking like?
It's hard to say. I don't know what he's been doing. I mean, obviously the guy's been training, but how much the sport's evolved since he's actually been gone. It's crazy.
It's a long time, man.
And I'll tell you what, man, Bisping's going to be a big dude. He's going to work his jab. He's going to be fit. He's going to be tough to take down, and you might be stuck on an island out there with him.
You're not going to watch that fight as a fan, though, right? You might put a little cheddar on that. What are you leaning towards?
What's the line?
Let's look it up.
Yeah.
Dan, what are your thoughts on that?
I think there's too many intangibles, from the time off to other things. It's a different sport, different era, the different procedures, all these different things. But even aside from that, just let's look at GSP's game at its best. he was a multifaceted guy that could blend it, right? That's essentially was the argument what made him so good. But blending involves timing, and timing, boy, that is the hardest thing. Even just coming back from a 6 to 9 month layoff outside of the ring, that becomes a forefront. Now, you know, you're putting on a couple years, and you have a very timing based game. Sure, welterweight they're a little bigger. You're facing an even bigger guy at middleweight, but the speed, the timing. I think that's going to be a big factor. It's hard to bank on a guy that's just going to, no matter how good he is, he's going to come in 4 years later and be like, I got that timing down pat. Let's go.
Yeah, for sure.
You got Michael Bisping, the Rodney Dangerfield of MMA, coming in as the underdog, of course, plus 130, minus 160 on GSP.
Hey, I'll meet you there. I'll meet you at the counter. Let's go.
I'll go to the books right now. Hey, so on that tough topic, you know, Matt Brown announced his retirement as well. This being his last fight. Another guy who kind of fits that Joe Lauzon workman, goes in and just scraps mentality, fight anybody, anywhere. You know, he's an intimidating dude outside the cage. Like, I've ran into Matt, like, hey, what's up, man? And I just got that, like, who the fuck, you know, like, like oh,
he's
shit.
spent some time out there, right, at Extreme Couture, Matt?
He's been out there a number of times, and maybe crack a smile once out of every you know couple days. But yeah, just an intimidating dude, man. It's gonna be sad to see him hang him up, but yeah, he can scrap.
I remember seeing him roll in there. Sorry, I remember seeing him roll in there right after the Tough series was out, because he's on the same series Amir was on.
Yeah,
one of the top 5 underdogs just for just for his run on that season, by the way. But I remember seeing Matt Brown and like, oh, the guy with the immortal tattoos in Extreme Couture right now. Oh my god, that guy looks like he's seen death, and he has literally.
For sure. For sure.
It definitely, your heart has to be in it, right? And that was one thing that stuck in my mind, where it just doesn't seem like he wants to do it anymore. And I think that's the most important thing, is you got to love what you do.
Yeah, exactly. You know, things change in your life, and perspectives where, you know, some guys fight because they have this anger inside them from their youth or something along those lines. And as a coach, those things you kind of want to tap into. But as you get older, maybe that fire that you once had that got you in the sport isn't there anymore. And that's okay. You know, it's just part of it.
Another guy that you're very familiar with, Roy Nelson. You've cornered him before.
Yeah.
He's fighting in Bellator. How do you think he'll do in Bellator?
I think Roy will do great, man. You know, Roy's main thing is just kind of getting in there and finding his range, and not always relying so much on the overhand, but setting up his other combinations and tying in with his wrestling. But if he can do all those things, man, I think Roy should get a win out of this weekend.
Why don't we do this, guys? Why don't we take our last commercial break as we are unwinding here. The show's almost over, but it doesn't mean you can't call in, get in that queue, and get one last question in before we go off for the weekend. When we come back, we'll talk about Lorenz Larkin and Paul Daly. I can't wait to see that fight. It's going to be a good one. Dan, I know you have an opinion on that, so keep it dialed in here to MMA Junkie Radio. We will be right back.
They can drink Mentos-flavored Diet Coke without their stomachs giving a single fuck. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
It's true. Stomachs give 0 fucks. 39 years of that going on. This weekend, UFC Fight Night 117, St. Preux versus Okami. That's right. I said Okami.
Oh.
Steps in. Bellator 183, Henderson versus Pitbull. But one feature bout that we want to talk about that on that card is Paul Daly versus Lorenz Larkin. Lorenz Larkin's a good friend of the show, as is Paul Daly. Larkin went with us to Joint Base Langley Eustis on one of our very first trips. And Dan, why don't you break that fight down for us? Well, what do we have to look for here in this fight?
Well, I'm not sure if you have the odds pulled up, and you can quote me on the exact one, but essentially most bookmakers open Lorenz as a 2-to-1 favorite or in the neighborhood of. I think I'm seeing around 250, depending on what house you're looking at, and I think that's about right. I mean, the story is kind of similar on Paul Daly. You know, knockout power, very athletic. Has worked with Kenny Johnson and some really good guys over the years, and really trying to shore up his takedown defense. And now is the point where he's been serviceable, competitive, doing well. Much more wins than losses, and you look at his most recent run in Bellator here. But at the same time, we're also seeing Lorenz Larkin kind of come out of his shell, right? I mean, he was doing it toward the end of his UFC run. Sure, he didn't do well against a very underrated Lima in his last time out. And again, it's like changing camp. When you change organization, it's not an excuse, but you almost want to give a fighter an adjusting period. You're not going to see the best fighter in his promotional debut, or if he's changing camps. There's always that adjustment period, and Lorenz still made a good account for himself in a 5-round fight. We're not just losing, but we've seen it. The leg kicks and the lower leg kicks are becoming a more popular thing, and Lorenz actually was the one where he's usually delivering it, had to deal with an adversity he's usually used to giving other guys. That even though he lost it, that said a lot to me. I think the odds makers have it right, and I'll be back in Lorenz Larkin to get it done on this one.
Yeah, I want to see him let it go a little bit more in that last fight. He just wasn't really pulling the trigger too much.
Yeah.
You're right, maybe it's the new environment. Who knows?
Sure.
He's so used to so many things. Coach, what do you think?
He was maybe 3-4 fights away from a title shot in the UFC, and then you go to Bellator and you're thrown right into a title shot. You have to take that in account. But I love Larkin in this fight, man. I think if Larkin fights him a little bit out of range and uses his length on this guy, he'll be fine and staying away from Daly's big hook that he has. And then once he gets him, if he wants to take him down, get him against the cage and look to chain wrestle from there. But I like Larkin in that fight.
We talked about sometimes these fighters coming over to Bellator and not really making the splash that we anticipated. Benson Henderson, he's in the main event. He's fighting Patricky Pitbull Ferry. I want to see I like Benson. He's fun. I want to see him get back on track. Is this the fight that's going to do it?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Pitbull's he's been pulling him out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I think that's kind of been the knock on Benson is just which one's going to show up, and has he been fighting the best guys that Bellator had to offer, and maybe they should have rolled him out with something a little easier in the beginning. Who's he fighting so far? He's had Chandler.
The very first fight coming in was what was that? Korshkov
at 170.
Yes, yeah,
170.
that's right.
That did not go well.
Here's our killers. You go right away. Welcome to the organization. And maybe he needed something to kind of get his feet wet in there. You're right, Dan. I think it's tough.
This fight's very underrated. This fight, the whole card is. Actually, it's going to be a lot of fun. What do you think of the main event, Dan?
Well, yeah, speaking of leg kicks, Benson Henderson was one of the first guys evolving that game by lowering the target and getting more effectiveness,
Yeah.
We saw that happen to our buddy Chandler. And, obviously, their past fight, the leg kick came into play. And it's really interesting because the Pitbull brothers, man, they've been quietly getting better. I mean, they're kind of one of those names like, a Strauss or this or that, a common name that Bellator, these homegrown talents. But look beyond the name value, and they really are progressing, and you're seeing more fighters in the Brazilian scene train with them. Even Americans, I believe Henry Cejudo, another guy who's been improving his game, I believe he actually went up and did a lot of his last camp with them as far as the striking goes, and getting those Muay Thai to even, I don't know if it's the Pitbull brothers or their trainers even have a little bit of that karate-based background so they can deal with those in-and-out type guys, right? Which, Benson presents, even though he's not a karate-based guy, he's got the long southpaw, he kind of hops in and out of range, makes fights difficult. So I'm really interested to see where Pitbull is, and the odds makers make him a dog, but they're giving him respect because he's not a dog by much. He's certainly live dog.
Yeah.
UFC Fight Night 117 is also this weekend. Dan, I know you did your breakdown. Is there a fight here that we just can't miss?
That's definitely Mitsuto Hirota versus. Oh wait, no, just kidding.
Wait.
The fan in me is excited and also just very scared and being prepared to be depressed with Gomi versus Dong Hyun Kim, because on paper that's like
everybody loves.
It's going to be a fun fight, but man, it's been rough for Gomi lately.
Make sure you check out Dan's breakdown. Now you get to see it on MMAjunkie.com. How surreal is that? Very cool. Dan's come a long way. He's one of the best at doing what he does, and I always get a kick out of looking at that front page and seeing that up there. Eric Nicksick, thank you very much for coming in.
My pleasure.
On your birthday of all days,
yeah, loved it.
sharing some of your knowledge with us and helping us out with some of those interviews. I hope you had a good time. I thought today's show was fun.
Yeah, thanks, George. Miss you, buddy.
George, get better. Hopefully you're still sitting in bed listening to the show. We hope to get you back soon.
Yep.
Danny, you did a great job today as a producer over there in New York.
Always.
Did you say anything?
He said thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
Did you guys hear Danny chime in today in the middle of an interview?
Yeah, it was pretty
funny.
good.
No, it's good.
The thing about this is SiriusXM, you can't hear Danny when he chimes in, but the people on the video get to hear him, so it's just kind of like that little voice in your ear.
Voice in my head.
After I don't know how many shows that he's done with us, he rarely says anything, but this one he popped off. It's pretty funny. Anyways, guys, that wraps up this week. Thank you very much to all our guests this week. We'll be back next week, hopefully at full strength. But until then, be champions.
Fever, Las Vegas turning day into nighttime, turning night into daytime. If you see